In this video I will go in depth on the differences between squash and racquetball. So without a further ado, let's begin. In short, squash is played on a smaller court that is 32 9.75 long and 21 6.4 wide, whereas a racquetball court is 40 12.2 long and 20 6.1 wide. Also, squash rackets are longer but narrower than racquetball rackets. However, racquetballs are bigger and bouncier than squash balls. Even when those are some notable differences, they can't be all there is, can't they? You're right, there's much more. Therefore, I have split this video into sections where you can easily spot the information you are looking for. First, stick with me, and I'll explain the differences between courts and speed. Playing differences. Squash and racquetball are different in many ways, but the court sizes and game speed are notable. First, let's start with the biggest difference between squash and racquetball, and I mean it literally. The official size courts aren't identical, so take a peek at their dimensions. Squash courts are 32 feet, 9.75 long, 21 feet, 6.4 wide, and 18 feet, 5.5 high. Racquetball courts are 40 feet, 12.2 long, 20 feet, 61 wide, and 20 feet, 6.1 high. Speed. Given that squash and racquetball courts and rules aren't the same and the balls are different, the speed will also vary. Racquetball has a faster pace than squash because the ball can travel faster, and you can use the ceiling to hit the ball, whereas you can in squash. So, there are more possible ways the ball can come at you, and a faster ball speed will certainly make a faster overall tempo. However, this doesn't mean that racquetball is more difficult. In fact, squash is considered a more difficult sport for various reasons, such as physically harder, longer rallies, more technical and strategic, smaller court, rule differences, smaller ball, worse bounceability. Equipment. Racquetball, racket, ball, squash, racket, and ball. A person who doesn't know a thing about squash or racquetball can easily mistake the two for the same sport. However, there are differences in equipment as well. Racket, squash, and racquetball rackets aren't the same, with many differences in length, width, and weight. Take a look at both. Squash rackets are longer and narrower, with a maximum length of 27 inch, 68.6 cm, and maximum width of 8.46 inch, 21.5 cm. Squash rackets are generally lighter in weight, between 4.76 oz, 135-170. Racquetball rackets are shorter and wider, with a maximum length of 22 inch, 55.9 cm, and maximum width of 11.5 inch, 29.2 cm. The racquetball weight range is heavier, between 5.36.5 oz, 150-185 at it. Oh, you can quite quickly notice that squash and racquetball balls aren't the same either. Many differences, such as dimensions and weight, set them apart. Squash balls are smaller than racquetballs with a diameter of 1.5-1.6 inches, 38 in. So they are the same size as ping pong balls. The weight of squash balls is found between 0.81-0.88 oz, 23-25 at it. Racquetballs are bigger than squash balls with a diameter of 2 or 4 inches, 57. Racquetballs weight 1.4 oz, 40 at it. Other equipment. Protective eyewear is on top of the list when it comes to other equipment, especially in squash. Both racquetball and a squash ball on the eyes could cause serious injuries. However, squash balls are smaller, increasing the severity of potential contact with the eye. Cost is one of the biggest factors in whether a person will start playing the sport. For example, lacrosse and tennis can be very expensive. So what's the case with squash and racquetball? Let's begin with the equipment first. Equipment cost. Squash and racquetball have the same equipment requirements, which isn't much. They cost approximately the same, and the absolute essentials are the racket and a ball. Safety goggles and proper in-court shoes are also something to consider. So, how much does the equipment cost? You can get started in squash and racquetball with a $50 beginner set, including a racket and a couple of balls. In addition, you can get safety goggles for $10 and decent in-court shoes for $40. Therefore, the low end of equipment cost is $100, whereas the high end can be up to $700. Cost of play. Generally, an hour of squash or racquetball costs $10 to $30, which isn't much compared to other sports costs such as tennis court fees. Of course, this depends on the weekday, whether you buy bulk tickets, the area you play, and the standard of the court club. Popularity. Racquetball and squash are mediocre in popularity around the world. Even though they have millions of players and fans worldwide, they can't compete in the same league as baseball, basketball, soccer, football, and ice hockey. Professional earnings. Money is something we all humans have at least some interest in. And what's more fascinating than the earnings of professional athletes? The topic often interests people because earning a lot of money from playing a sport you like sounds incredible probably for all people. So how much do squash and racquetball players earn? The answer to this question is often unsatisfying, as the earnings even from the top players doesn't come close to the earnings of more popular sports. Still, the top annual salaries for both squash and racquetball players go from $100,000 to $300,000. You should note that people reaching those amounts are the elite of the pros. The average salary for a professional squash player is about $43, whereas for a professional racquetball player, it's $57,000. That doesn't sound very lucrative because the amounts are considerably higher in other sports. We are almost wrapping up. These are the common differences between these two. Hope you like this video. Please comment, share and subscribe to this channel for more videos.